Hello, hello, and welcome to the Beltway Book Club, everybody. I'm your host, Ellen Meny, and I am so excited to welcome my guest today, Lupita Aquino. She is a literary influencer, which is such a cool title. You are known as Lupita Reads on Instagram, on TikTok, on everything. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Well, I've interviewed so many authors on the show. I thought it would be really cool to speak to somebody who is part of kind of this new wave of, I would say, like book journalist, the literary influencer.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah, so I wanted to ask, how did you get into the literary influencing game when you first started out?
Yeah, so just to kind of give you an overrun of me, I started on Instagram, what we call Bookstagram.
Bookstagram, yes.
And back then it was 10 years plus now that I've started my little Bookstagram, not knowing that there would be a whole community of readers that were also looking to connect with other readers. And that just started my journey, posting books that I was reading on Instagram and looking for other people to talk to them about. And it's just kind of evolved. And somehow, you know, literary influencer is like a new term to me too, because for the longest time, I just referred to myself as a bookstagrammer.
Right.
Someone who loves reading, a passionate reader, a book, lover in so many ways, like just somebody who wants to really just connect with other people about what I was reading and, what they're reading and kind of find a way to talk about deeper things that, books tend to be good, like segues to.
Yeah, very true. And we've talked a lot about your career, but how would you describe what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So what I do in terms of book influencing or literary book, being a literary book influencer, is just like connecting someone to their next great read is kind of what I like to say. And the way that I do that is in different ways. I post reviews on Instagram. I will make reaction videos of me reading books that I'm really passionate about. On TikTok specifically, I did a series of Latin books that I've read that could be your next favorite read. I've also done on TikTok, which I love, is like pairing themes that people might be interested in reading with. So I had a far recent video go viral, and it was all about if you have an immigrant mother and you want to cry, you need to read this book.
Yeah.
And actually, I was not expecting that to go viral, but it did. And it's like, I'm just looking for other readers to talk to about these major themes that books can tend to cover.
And I think that's a beautiful example because it shows that books can connect in so many different ways. Like you didn't expect that specific video to go viral, and yet it did.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And the comment section, just people talking about their immigrant mothers or their mothers in general, and even just having nuanced conversations. What do we mean when we say an immigrant mother? But also realizing that at the bottom of it is just a mother and the way they mother, and having those connections and conversations in the comments has been one of my favorite parts.
Yeah, I'm sure. What is it like? Speaking of which, what is it like to have that community of people? Is it fun? Is it exciting? Is it overwhelming sometimes?
Yeah.
A mix, maybe?
It's definitely a mix. It's something that I've grown with and I've learned to just kind of grow with as well. I'm so grateful to people that connect with me. I will post something about tattoos and I will have 10 to 20 DMs about people that want to share their tattoo stories, and that's the wonderful part about being able to connect is that, I put an idea out on the internet and people respond to it.
Yeah.
And then you think about the times where you could put out an idea that maybe not everyone agrees with.
Right.
And then you kind of get that overwhelming negative response. So it is just learning how to stand true in your own voice and that the internet is essentially a place where people come with opinions and ideas. And they're not wrong, they're not right, and that doesn't necessarily pertain to your character of who you are. Your ideas and your thoughts are separate than your character.
Yeah.
So sometimes you could be wrong, and that's okay. That doesn't mean you're a bad person for being wrong.
Right. We're all human.
Yeah.
And it does happen.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier your Latin Reads kind of program, which is something I know you do a lot of work in that field, but this is something specific in 2026. You kind of created a reading series. Is that right?
Yeah, it's actually in its second year.
Second year. Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
No, and it's new. It's I invite people to read a Latin book once a month.
Yeah.
So basically the challenge is, can you read 12 books across the year? And so each month you get to pick a book. And, some people take it very seriously and they stick to only reading one book a month. And other folks love to like just go as far as they can. And, the invitation is to tag me and to, I'll share that with you and I'll encourage you to read. And I think it's really important that, in general, as we're trying to understand each other in this world, that we read from each other's cultures and perspectives and backgrounds.
Yeah.
And, the Latin community is such a variety of different cultures. We know Mexico, we know El Salvador, we know Peru.
Right.
There's Costa Rican writers. There's a writer with every possible Latin background that I could recommend. And I think that, I just wish more people read about them and talked about them. And that's kind of where that inspiration came from to start the challenge.
And since it's in year 2, how has that felt? Because it seems like if it's in year 2, it must be successful.
Yeah, no, I love seeing people tag me in posts and also just be so excited. I think like my favorite part is like people are like, wow, I never knew that this author was out there. And now I'm going down a rabbit hole and discovering more different voices or connecting to different authors from the same, community. So I think that that's been kind of my favorite thing about it all.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's reminding me a little bit of Scholastic. Didn't they used to do kind of like almost like a book bingo?
Yeah. And, actually the Bookstagram community, I should say that I was inspired by another reading challenge too. Melanated Reader, she does a 20 Black women, read 20 Black women in a month. And so, I was like, why don't I start that? Why don't I do that? And a lot of people actually do book bingo on Bookstagram too. So there's a lot of different ways to engage with encouraging people to read diversely, but just like read outside of their scope of what they normally read, and which is kind of what I want to do.
Absolutely. Well, Lupita, we have to go to break, but we're going to talk much more about all things books. So everybody stick around. We will be right back with more Beltway Book Club. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome back to the Beltway Book Club, everyone. I'm your host, Ellen Meny, and I'm so excited to have my guest here, Lupita Aquino. She is a literary influencer, bookstagrammer, and you are known as Lupita Reads on social media. Thanks for joining me.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, it's been awesome to hear about everything you do. But I want to talk about kind of like the focal point of Lupita Reads, which is reading.
Yeah.
And I have to ask, as a bookstagrammer, how many books do you read a year?
Yeah, so that actually has varied over the years.
Okay.
That I've been on Bookstagram and being in the literary space. 1 year I was reading I was on the jury selection committee for the Aspen Prize. So I think the number was over 100 books, and so having to tackle through that just was crazy. But now I'm averaging around anywhere between 60 to 80 books a year.
Okay.
I am also a mom.
Wow, love that. Oh my, you are a champion.
Yeah. So it's funny. I had a friend tell me, when I was first, we were having our son.
Yeah.
She's like, your reading life is going to change completely. And I remember that the first few months, it didn't change at all. If anything, I feel like I was reading a lot more. Between nap times and burping and feeding, I felt like I had time. And then now, as he's getting older, it's pivoted to I'm reading with him. And we're reading his books. And then, I love that the Bookstagram has conversations about that. Like, do we count the books that we're reading with kids towards our count?
Do you?
I do not.
Okay. That's Spot Goes to the Park is not on the Goodreads challenge list.
Yeah, it is not.
Okay.
But it's something that's definitely changed the way I read, the way I engage with reading. And it's been really great discovering these books and like books that I didn't have as a child and then read in childhood with my son now.
Well, I want to get back to childhood books soon, but I wanted to ask you, so I have a full-time job. I love reading. I'm trying to meet 50 books a year. You have a full-time job.
Yeah.
You have Lupita Reads and you have a child. I feel like 60 to 80 books is still very it's heroic. Do you have any recommendations for people who want to up their book count?
Yeah, the only thing that's really helped is really just sticking to cultivating time.
Okay, yeah.
It's, the biggest thing is finding time. So, for example, right in between bedtime. So if I have an hour before bed, lately that hasn't worked for me, and it's been having to be flexible with what works and what doesn't, and not beating yourself up about it either.
Yeah.
Because I would be like, oh, I'm going to read an hour before bed, but I would fall asleep 15 minutes into it, because reading actually is really relaxing.
Yes.
And I was finding that as someone who is trying to navigate everything and constantly kind of stressed out a little bit, that reading relaxes me to the point that I can actually just snooze off.
Right.
So I had to pivot. And so now it's weekends. If I only have the weekend to read, then I will spend as long as I can reading, as many hours as I can. And I've actually found that works. Also, audiobooks. Shout out to audiobooks.
Yes, definitely.
Audiobooks have been a saver. If anything, compare that with the gym and walking on the treadmill.
Yes.
Or going on a run. But one of my favorite things is to pair a really good audiobook with a long walk.
Yeah. Oh, there's nothing like it.
There's nothing like that. You end up so relaxed, and you're also engaging one of my favorite hobbies, which is reading.
Very true.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, what are you reading right now?
Yeah, I am actually reading a book called Wimby, and it's by T. Kiara Madding. It is so good.
I've heard many things.
Have you?
Yes, many good things.
Oh my gosh, it is. I am so sucked in. It's a multiple point of view. I don't know how much we can get into it, but I don't want any spoilers. But it's
maybe no
really
spoilers.
Good. No.
Okay.
It's a book I really recommend.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah. I want to get back to books in childhood. Was there a book that just totally took your attention and made you kind of the lifelong reader that you are now?
Yeah, I would say the first book that I remember is definitely The Giver. I don't know if you remember
Lois
The Giver.
Lowry. Yes.
I don't know. There was just something about The Giver and that story that just, I think to this day, I don't really know for sure what it was.
Yeah.
To have, to just know that there's a role in society and that there's this one person assigned to this role. There was something about that story that just made me a lifelong reader. And then along the way, there was other books, in high school, kind of the books that we were quote unquote forced to read.
Right.
They actually ended up being books. Brave New World was one that I was quote unquote forced to read, that ended up being one that I was really fascinated by. For some reason, I had a fascination with Macbeth.
I love that. Classic.
Any other Shakespeare was something about Macbeth. I was like, I'm so sold with Macbeth. So, I love it. It's funny. I can remember now that those were books that were pivotal and that kind of made me open and interested in wanting to discover more stories like them.
Yes. No, fantastic. Do you have a favorite book?
A favorite all-time book?
Yeah, I know. That's
So I have books that I like to call kind of referred to as my season. If you would have
I see.
A soundtrack of your life, I kind of would have a book of my different books of periods of my life.
I love that.
And so when talking about my son, one of the books that I actually just posted about on my Instagram was that 7 years ago I read this book called Good Talk, A Memoir and Conversation by Mira Jacob. And it is a graphic novel, and she basically talks about what it was like to have a son who, I think in that book, he's around the same age as my son, and he has all these questions about the world and how it works. I mean, deep questions that kind of throw her as a mother, racism and why is my dad white and why am I brown? Can I be white like my dad?
Right.
So just innocent questions that kids ask that end up turning into really insightful knowledge just about the way that the author navigates the world herself. And it's just a book that I adore so much that I reread often. And yeah.
It sounds like a fantastic one for any parent or anyone, period, because it sounds like it makes you think about questions that are not simple or nonsensical on the surface, but, unlock something greater. Well, we have to go to break.
Yeah.
But when we come back, obviously we'll talk more books. So, Lupita, thank you again. And everybody, thank you so much for joining us for the Beltway Book Club. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the Beltway Book Club. I'm so happy to be talking with my guest, Lupita Aquino. She is a literary influencer and the Lupita of Lupita Reads.
Yeah.
You're all over the internet. It's fantastic. We've talked a lot about books and your job as a literary influencer, or hobby, I guess, or job.
I mean, it's kind of a passion job.
It's a passion. Yeah, there we go. But I wanted to ask, you consume so many books. Have you ever thought about writing a book yourself?
Yes, I've actually thought about it often. Sometimes I feel like the quote unquote call feels a little bit stronger than other times.
Okay.
And always when I read a book that is like, there's like a specific book and it just hits the right notes that kind of make me think like, wow, I feel like I want to tell my story, or I want to write a story similar and get people kind of talking and thinking in the way that this book that I've read has me talking and thinking.
So could we expect a book one day, maybe? Maybe?
I one thing I have to say, I have to give it up to folks that write books, because the commitment to sit down and whether it's nonfiction and do the digging, you're thinking about memoir and having to kind of confront those things that you're going to put on the page. And then if you think about fiction and the research and just, it can get a little overwhelming. Fair. So if I can get over that, you can definitely someday expect a book from me.
Well, regardless, you're doing excellent work. So I'm not gonna. I'll say, Lupita, do another thing as well as you're doing your job, motherhood. Lupita reads. Going back to kind of what you do online, how do you choose books to review? Because I know you must be inundated with requests.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think I haven't checked my inbox over, like, I would say in the past 4 days. Okay. I have like over 300 emails. Yeah, and that's actually being very concerned. I was like, that's not that bad. Yeah. And a lot of it are folks, authors or publishers pitching me their books, and the books that have coming out in the next few weeks or months or even next year. Wow. Sometimes I get books pitched for 2027. Now is about the time that they're going to start to come, and a lot of what I do to kind of navigate and see what it is that I am interested in reading is really, I have topics that kind of I would say are zingers. Like they kind of like, ooh, they're like, oh, I want, it gives me something in me that I kind of want to read it and want to navigate towards that. So I kind of stick to that. And then I also have a Substack. And so in that Substack, I like to do mini micro interviews with Latin authors. Okay. Yeah. So it's all through Substack. It's text. And I try to do it weekly, and that's helpful because, I feel like, again, I want to make sure that people know that these books are out there and that Latin authors, there's such a variety in genre, and the spectrum is so big. And so that's kind of how I navigate it. I look at different zingers that feel good that I want to read about. I'm big on memoir, graphic novels. I love poetry. So just kind of different things like that. There are topics like immigration. There's topics like motherhood that are interesting. Central themes like that will kind of help me navigate kind of what I say yes to. And then sometimes there are things that just get pitched really, really well. You would be surprised. Folks know how to write a good pitch, and I'll just be like, I'm sold. I'm down. Yeah. Send me the book.
No, that is totally fair. Well, you mentioned your Substack, so I'd love to ask you kind of how can people find you and how can people engage with what you do online?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am on Instagram at lupitareads.com. I'm on TikTok under the same handle. I'm also on Threads. I'm on Substack. Honestly, if you just put in Google Lupita Reads, you'll be able to find anywhere I am online. And I do try to keep all those channels active as much as possible, although, they are time consuming, especially when I'm trying to balance a full-time job. So, but, I like to do what I can.
And what is your Substack called?
Yeah, it's Lupita Reads too.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, you already said that.
No, you're fine. I try to make it as easy as possible for people to find me because, I do recognize not everybody wants to be on Instagram. Not everyone is comfortable with TikTok or any of the other, social media channels. So I figured Substack is a good way to connect offline, where you could just go to a website and you can find my interviews there, my thoughts on different things that I'm reading or just kind of attending. I recently did a post about getting to attend the Authors Guild Gala in New York, which was a lot of fun. So, yeah.
Excellent. And I know you have an event coming up soon. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I'm actually going to be moderating for the Gaithers Book Festival. I'll be in conversation with Reina Grande, who is a memoirist, and her new book is a personal collection of essays. And it's basically, I love that she intros the book as I'm writing about essays about things I can't forget. And it's so, I'm such an admirer of her writing, and I've read her previous memoirs, and it's beautiful to be able to kind of see her grow as an author. And this next book that she has for us, which is a memoir and these personal essay collections, they just hit a deeper level of vulnerability that I'm just like, how do you keep going deeper and deeper and then still reserving privacy? You know, that's something that I think could be really hard for a memoirist.
Right.
Putting yourself on the page, but then also remaining private.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we'll be at Gaithers Book Festival at 12:15. Our chat talks, and then afterwards she'll be signing books.
Fantastic. Well, Lupita, thank you so much for joining me on the Beltway Book Club. We got to go. I could talk to you forever, though.
Absolutely, me too.
But everybody, yes, thank you. But everybody, Lupita reads. I have the social media on the screen right now. Thank you again. And everybody, thanks so much for watching us. We will see you next time. Bye.